difficulty is that sometimes, especially in embedded systems, replicating bug reports will be difficult for the development organization. Indeed. Do you think in such cases having a resident engineer from the development organization to the sys-test organization is a good idea? Would it be cheaper? Especially in crisis times, business trips are difficult to justify. The way I've seen this managed effectively in the past is you actually pick an outsourced test provider that is in the same town, within driving distance, basically, of the outsourced development organization. And this should not be terribly hard to do, because I think, in most places where you would find a lot of high-tech development centers, you could also find somebody who would a testing service provider who could be trusted. And you have the test environment available to outsource testing service provider. If they have a problem, then somebody comes over from the development organization and takes a look at it. And I've seen that approach work really well. And it helps solve one of the problems that can happen if, referring back to this slide here that's up on the screen, if the what's shown as outsourced testing organization here is done in-house, if that's a long way away, as you rightly point out, that can be really troublesome in terms of trying to replicate these bugs. So, that right there is a good reason to think about why have an outsourced testing organization. The question from Patricia. Good to hear from you again, Patricia. From your experience, what are the most important characteristics that a good test partner must have? This is really going to depend. Obviously, one of the universals here is proper skills in the test team, and that's going to vary depending on what specifically you're testing, what those skills would be. But you would definitely want to see skilled, trained, experienced testers. If the test partner is embedded in a larger development organization, then you want to make sure that there is a career path that exists that is something that promotes test professionalism. You want to make sure that it's going to be possible to get a good environment, good test environment for them, either whether through VPN, in which case there's infrastructure question there of, is it reliable internet connectivity at high speed, or can we get the hardware to them? And this is another route that you can go, but it can be expensive. If they're going to be doing automation, you look at tools licenses and those kinds of things. So what you really want to do is say, what would we need to do this testing well ourselves, and then ask yourself, have a checklist that does the test partner have this? Question from Brian. What are the most effective methods to bring the outsourced testing organization up to speed on domain knowledge of the company and application that they are testing? This is important as a lot of the testing involves interpreting the results. Yes, Brian, that's a very good question, and the complexity of your application drives the degree to which this becomes a challenge. And one of the approaches that you can use for this is to try to carve up the work and outsource the work that is less domain dependent. Things like usability, accessibility, performance and reliability, localization. Those are things that we found that can be divided up fairly easily with less domain knowledge. If you do have to do functional testing, then the more domain knowledge there is, the longer it's going to take. And this is going to basically be an investment in this outsourced testing organization and their skills. Now, there's no magic bullets to make this happen. There's webinars and having people work side by side with them, and having the outsourced test provider send over a local person and so forth. So all these are things that can happen. One of the things that you'll want to do in a situation like this is make sure that your contract specifies some responsibility for a stable team at the outsourced test provider's side, because otherwise you're going to have their turnover costs will end up being imposed on you as people rotate out. So you'll want to be careful with that. Well, thank you all for your participation. That's all the time we have for questions. But I'm going to close this session and tell you a little bit more about the resources available through RBCS. We do plan to run these free webinar sessions. This is the second one. We're going to do it once a month. So check our website to sign up. And If you want a special webinar presentation for your company only of this webinar or any other topic, send us an email at info@rbcs-us.com or via the website, and we can talk about that. If you don't already receive our free newsletter, you can sign up at www.rbcs-us.com, and by signing up you'll get valuable discounts on consulting and training services, along with a regular newsletter that includes a featured article on software testing and quality and news about what RBCS and its partners are doing lately. And lastly, you can follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/RBCS. So this concludes the webinar. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. Have a great afternoon or evening.